So please welcome to the stage, Lucía Sánchez.
We are a lucky generation. We live in a world where thousands of contents are shared daily through the internet. And many of these contents are great sources of knowledge. Sometimes we don't realize this, and we don't make use of these huge opportunities that are available to us. That is why I would like to remind this to you today. Before I start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Lucía Sánchez. I'm 17 years old, and I develop apps and websites. Technology has been my passion since I was a kid, and I've always wanted to create my own company. When I was 11, I created a technology blog where I wrote about technology news, as I thought it was the easiest way to create something by myself. With 12, I started to get interested in programming, and I developed my first game using Scratch. But what was the problem with Scratch? The problem was that Scratch is so simple that it didn't allow me to publish my games on the stores. And I wanted everyone to be able to have my games on their phones. Otherwise, why would I want to make games? I wanted to create something by myself, my own small company, but I didn't know how to make more games. So I decided to do something completely different, and I started selling personalized t-shirts through eBay. But do you know how many t-shirts I sold? One. I sold one t-shirt, so I realized that fashion wasn't for me. One day, I was searching through the internet, and I found a TED Talk given by an American kid that had created his own games and had thousands of downloads. I found this fascinating, and I thought that I wanted to do that as well. So I started investigating, and I watched a series of tutorials on how to start making video games from zero. I spent 1 year developing and designing my first game. And in 2014, I managed to publish it to the Google Store and the Apple Store. It's called Crazy Block, and it has over 10,000 downloads on each platform. It's a fun and challenging game, and it has appeared on many press articles. A few months later, I decided to do my second game, Smash Ball, which was much easier to develop, as I learned many things developing Crazy Block. I also learned how to make 3D games, as I find 3D design fascinating. Another project was to make an online store using HTML and WordPress. And in this store, I sell accessories such as towels and bracelets. My last project has been developing an app about my hometown, Benidorm, which I guess some of you might know it. In this app, you can find information for tourists, and I hope that tourists feel like home when they use it. I just uploaded it to the Apple Store, and I'm waiting for Apple to review it and approve it. So it will soon be available for you. So I hope that you check it out in a few days. Here you can see some screenshots. Today, I want to share with you everything that I've learned developing these projects. And the most important, the main idea, is that you can learn anything by watching YouTube tutorials. YouTube has been a key element developing my projects. It has helped me to make my dreams become reality by teaching me how to make 2 games, 2 websites, and 1 app. And it's the only resource that I use for learning. I'm going to give you an example. When I was developing this Benidorm app, and every time I wanted to add a new feature, I searched for a tutorial. I wanted to create a simple button that when you click on it, it links you to a website. So I went on YouTube and I wrote, how to make hyperlink button. And I watched the video, I followed the steps, and I copied the code that the person was writing. And then it worked. Isn't it simple? Every one of you is capable of doing it. Here you can see the video that I used in this example. From my point of view, YouTube is the most effective resource available on the internet. It's fast, it's easy to understand, and there are videos about anything you can imagine. But there's so much content that it can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming. For me, YouTube is like a map. It allows you to get anywhere you want. But in order to reach your destination, you must know what is your starting point and what is your finishing point. Otherwise, you can get lost. Doesn't it happen to you that you want to learn many things at the same time, but you end up giving up and not doing anything? Yes. It does happen to me. Therefore, it is extremely important that you focus only on one subject, on one project, and that you know what you want to learn. Otherwise, you can get saturated, and you end up giving up before you have produced something. So, you could have the best map, but if you don't know where you're going to get lost. We tend to want to learn many things at the same time. Everyone tends to do that. Therefore, remember, concentrate only on one project and go step by step. Developing a project individually can be a hard task. Working without the help of professionals is difficult, because when you get problems, you have no one to ask. It's not like in school. When you don't understand something, you can put your hand up and ask your teacher. Here, you cannot do that. When you code, it's very common that when you get an error, your whole app or your whole website stops working. And this can be very frustrating, because you have spent a lot of time and then it suddenly stops working. It has happened to me many times. But it has taught me one important thing, that we must not be afraid to ask for help, because everyone is willing to help you if you ask them. I'm going to give you a personal example. A few weeks ago, I wanted to publish my personal website, luciasanchezpozo.com, and I needed to link my files with an online server. So I tried to do that, and every time I tried, I got errors. And I didn't know how to solve them. So I decided to call the customer service of this online server, and I told them the problem. They said to me that they were going to upload the website for me. They were going to do the job for me. I was amazed, and I couldn't believe it. In a matter of 30 minutes, my website was working, and all of that without spending €1. I found this fascinating, and it made me believe that everyone out there is going to help you. And everyone wants to help you, but you need to ask them. Imagine you went to a new city and you got lost. Wouldn't you ask for help? This is the same thing. These are the 3 main ideas that I want you to remember from this talk, and that I hope that they're useful for you. The first one is that you can learn anything by watching tutorials. Acquiring a new skill through the internet can be a hard task, and it's time-consuming. But the more tutorials you watch, the easier it gets. And it's really satisfying when you manage to do something by yourself. And the feeling of satisfaction is something that every one of you should experience. So therefore, I encourage you to think about something you've always wanted to learn, or you've always wanted to create. And as soon as you get home, you start working on it. You can go at your own pace, and you can start from 0. The second thing that I would like you to remember is that in order to make the most out of these resources, you must know what you want to learn and have focus. Focus on one idea. And once you finish that idea, go on to the next one. Otherwise, it can be very frustrating when you try to do everything at the same time, but you can't do it. And the third thing that I want you to remember is don't be afraid to ask for help. I would like to end up asking you 2 questions. The first one is, what is your dream? What do you want to achieve? And the second one is, how are you going to achieve it? I'm sure that you can find the answer on YouTube. Oh, thank you. So I'm going to ask the questions, answer the questions. What do I think about university and higher education? Okay, so in my opinion, education is very important. It teaches us knowledge, and it allows us to create habits of, like, when you get homework, it forces you to be organized and to organize your time properly. So I think education in that aspect is really positive. But in my opinion, jobs now are changing faster than education is changing. So therefore, everyone should consider being self-educated, as well as making use of public education and university careers. But it is essential that we get other skills that we cannot find in books, that we cannot get from our teachers. So I think that everyone should create the habit of learning something new every day about anything you like and apart from your studies. So how long has it taken you to develop your projects? Well, CrazyBlock took me about a year and a half, because it was my first game and I had to design it all and learn, and that was a bit challenging. So it took me like a year and a half. And then Smashball, a little bit less, like 9 months or something like that. And my website, my online shop took me like a summer, a little bit more. Last summer, I did it last summer. And the Benidorm app, I have been working on it since April, I think, yeah, April, and I just published it a few days ago. So I'm waiting for Apple to review it. And now I'm going to develop it for Android as well. So what YouTube channel has helped me the most? Every time I use different channels, and like if I want to learn how to make an object jump, I just write it on YouTube and I see the first tutorial and the second and see which one explains it better. So I don't have like a channel that I normally use because it depends on what I want to do. How did I promote my apps, and how would I advise someone who wants to become a programmer? Well, once I finished Crazy Blog, I didn't have any downloads, so I decided to make some communication campaign by myself, and I wrote a press note, and I sent it to nearly all of the technology blogs in Spain and all journalists that I could find their emails on LinkedIn and on the internet. And I sent them all my press notes and my app icon and information about my projects. And it started to appear on a lot of press. It appeared on Shataka, it has appeared on El Periódico El Mundo, in La Razón, and all of that like by sending press notes. And I think it's the best way. It is cheap, it's free, and it gets you a lot of publicity. So, and what would I advise to someone who wants to become a programmer? So, I would advise them to think of their project, whether they want to do a 3D video game or a 2D video game or the platform they want to upload it to. And once they have that idea, then draw the levels and have a clear idea of what you want to do. And once you've drawn the levels and you know what you're doing, then watch a tutorial and follow all the steps. And if you want to learn, there's also like tutorials, and you can copy the game, make like a replication of another one, and keep learning from that. Being so young and female CEO, how have you experienced navigating the gaming industry? I think I've benefited from being young, because when I did the press notes, if I had, instead of being 14, I've been 20 or 21 or 22, I would have never been able to appear on any of that website, because that was what made me different. So I think that instead of being something negative, it was something positive for me in that case. Thank you.